You have seen it, haven't you? The hairline crack running under the smooth floor where everyone else is dancing. The offbeat in the applause. The sigh disguised as a laugh. You try to ignore it, to be polite, to stay agreeable, but the crack keeps widening, and the rhythm keeps slipping, and the room keeps pretending nothing is wrong. And you wonder if the problem is them, or you. If you're here, it's because you suspect you're carrying a kind of sight other people don't, or won't, use. The sight that notices the hidden cost of easy answers. The sight that hears the confessions hidden in loud opinions. The sight that picks up patterns in families, teams, nations, even in your own moods, and then won't let you sleep. Jung warned us about that sight, not because it's false, but because it's dangerous. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, he wrote, but by making the darkness conscious. Beautiful words, yes, but the second part is sharp. The darkness you make conscious is not out there first, it's inside you. What you see out there will always be tinted by what you refuse to see and hear. And that is the first danger of seeing what others don't, the confusion between perception and projection. I want to speak directly to you, not as a teacher on a stage, but as the friend who pulls you aside at the end of the party, the friend who tells you the truth you already know. You are noticing what others miss, and the noticing is changing you. It's making you lonelier, more serious, sometimes even a little harder to love. You didn't ask for this. You didn't apply for it. But it's here, and you have two choices. Harden into a critic the world tunes out, or learn the craft of a seer the world eventually trusts. The difference isn't what you see, it's how you carry the seeing. Let's start at the door where nearly everyone enters the world, the mask. Jung called it the persona. It's the face you place in front of you so you can enter rooms, keep jobs, get through holidays. It's useful. It keeps societies from fraying. But every mask has two temptations. The first is to fuse with it, to believe you are the role you play. The second is to rip it off and call yourself authentic, as if sincerity alone isn't just another mask. If you see what others don't, you've probably felt both temptations. You've worn roles that fit like costumes 3 sizes too small. You've also been tempted to detonate those roles, to make honesty a weapon. But Jung offers a third move. Don't worship the mask, and don't burn it. Learn to wear it consciously. The persona becomes ethical when it is chosen, not obeyed. When you put it on to serve others, not to hide from yourself. But underneath the mask is the creature we are least trained to befriend, the shadow. The shadow is not simply the bad stuff. It's everything real that didn't fit the story you told to be loved. It could be your rage, or your tenderness, your aggression, or your vulnerability, your ambition, or your humility. Whatever your family or culture could not digest, you hid. Whatever you hid grew teeth. Now here is where the danger ripens. The more you refuse to meet your shadow, the more you will see it on other people. Their selfishness will glow like neon. Their cowardice will feel radioactive. Their hypocrisy will feel personal, like an insult engineered for you. And you will feel righteous, because you are not wrong. That hypocrisy is real. That cowardice does hurt people. But if you do not meet the same materials within yourself, your sight becomes unbalanced and unkind. You turn the truth into a mirror you only hold up to other faces. There is a story, ancient, painful, about a woman who saw what others did not. Cassandra, blessed with prophecy, cursed never to be believed. What most people forget is the lonely psychology of the curse. It isn't just that the city refused her warnings. It's that Cassandra herself began to rot under the isolation. She was right, and still wrong, because she told the truth without the tenderness that could carry it into the ears of people who were afraid. She was a trumpet, not a bridge. Socrates drank hemlock because he kept asking questions people did not want to answer. Galileo stared into the sky with a tube he knew would rearrange the furniture of belief, and became a threat by simply describing what he saw. Jung himself was exiled by his old friend Freud when he refused to worship a single theory of the mind. Great seers pay great prices, and yet none of these stories should make you romanticize the role of the outsider. Because here is an uncomfortable truth. There are two kinds of outsiders. the ones who stand outside to see more, and the ones who stand outside to feel superior. The first is a hard vocation. The second is a narcotic. Let me tell you a smaller story. You are in a meeting. There's a slide deck on the screen. The plan on the slide looks elegant, linear, inevitable. Everyone nods. You raise your hand and say, "We're underestimating the failure rate by at least 30%, and the testing timeline doesn't include the supply chain delays we hit last quarter." The room goes quiet. Not because you're wrong, but because you just invited reality to the party, and reality is an awkward guest. Someone says, "Let's not be negative." Someone else says, "We'll handle it when it comes." Later, your boss stops by and says, "Kindly, read the moment." You go home irritated, righteous, and a little afraid that you are becoming that person, the resident rain cloud. You are not a rain cloud. You are a barometer. And a barometer is useless until a storm is near. But here's the twist. If you only ever announce storms, people stop coming to your window. What they need is not only your ability to anticipate trouble, they need your craft in guiding them through it without humiliating them. A prophet who delights in being right is just another tyrant, a tyrant of accuracy. So how do you carry your sight without scalding people with it? Jung would say, begin with the inner work. Before you pronounce on the world, sit with the one within you who wants to be special for being awake. That one is seductive. It whispers, "You see more because you are more." But that's not wisdom, it's inflation. The psyche swells to fill the room, and soon the simple act of being right becomes a performance. You stop listening. You stop learning. You stop risking love. This is the part few viral videos will tell you. Seeing what others don't will break you a little. It will rupture the soft illusions that made attachment easy. It will make language heavier. It will complicate friendship, because authenticity without skill is just honesty used as a blade. You will have to practice a quieter bravery, the courage to notice without announcing, to name without shaming, to guide without grandstanding. There is another danger: pattern hunger. Once you learn you can see what others miss, you begin to see patterns everywhere. The mind is a relentless pattern-making machine, and when it's hungry, it feeds on coincidence. You will feel a thrill, the click of explanations locking into place, and that thrill can mislead you. Jung knew this too. He wrote about synchronicity, meaningful coincidence, but he never meant anything you feel is meaningful must be a message. He meant, sometimes correspondences arrive with a felt sense that shivers your spine. Treat them as invitations, not conclusions. Test your visions. Ask for contrary evidence. Make friends with people who can tell you no. That last sentence, make friends with people who can tell you no, may be the most practical survival technique for those who see. Look at any oracle who turned into a tyrant, and you will find a famine of honest friends. In the modern world, our oracles wear microphones and carry audiences who reward outrage with attention. That algorithm, the invisible city wall, is built to make you louder, not wiser. If you see what others don't, you will be tempted to monetize the distance. Do not. Or if you do, tie the portion of your earnings to humility. Pay for therapy. Pay for rest. Pay for the friend who sits you down and tells you your last video was 10% true and 90% performance. Thank them, and then do better. Now the heart. Because beneath all this talk of the shadow, the persona, the algorithm, and the pattern, you are carrying a much simpler ache, the ache of feeling different. The ache of not being invited to the soft ignorance that makes certain rooms warm. You didn't choose it. The eyes that won't stop seeing, the heart that won't stop caring, the mouth that keeps forming questions no one wants to hear. You cannot fully cure that ache, but you can choose what kind of person it turns you into. Here is a practice. Call it the two rooms. In the first room, you see the flaw, the gap between what people say and what they do, the debt under the celebration, the anger under the smile. Do not rush to fix it. Sit, breathe, name it to yourself in words that do not try to win. Then, and only then, move to the second room. The second room is the field where you ask, what would kindness do with this information? Not what would victory do? Not what would being right do? But what would kindness do? Sometimes kindness is blunt. Sometimes kindness is a question. Sometimes kindness is waiting for a quieter moment. And sometimes, this will sting, kindness is silence. Not every truth is ready to be born at your command. There is another practice, the reverse cue. Before you tell someone the truth you see in them, tell yourself 3 truths you can practice in you. You noticed your friend's defensiveness? Good. Where are you defensively brilliant? You noticed your boss's vanity? Good. Where do you dress your insecurity and competence? You noticed your partner withdrawing? Good. Where do you withdraw behind competence, humor, or intelligence? This isn't self-blame. It's self-locating. The moment you find kinship with the flaw you're about to name, your voice changes. It loses the tremor of superiority. It gains the timbre of solidarity. And the person across from you, even if they resist, feels the difference. History is not short on proof that sight without humility becomes cruelty. Every revolution begins with courage and ends with purity tests. Every church begins with light and ends with a rulebook aimed at throats. Jung watched Europe shudder under the weight of an unmade shadow, and he knew, when a culture refuses to do inner work, it will export its demons into laws, enemies, and wars. When a person refuses to do inner work, they will export their demons into tweets, speeches, and estranged families. The macro and the micro, same pattern, different scale. Let's pivot, because this is not a sermon about despair. It is a map for the path your sight asked you to walk. The map is old. It passes through landmarks with names like cave, desert, forest, ocean, city. Plato described the cave, the place where people watch shadows on the wall and call it reality. If you see what others don't, you have already turned around. You have seen the fire, the puppets, the mechanics that make the shadows dance. You have even walked out into the sun and been blinded by too much reality at once. You staggered, you wept, you laughed like a lunatic when color returned to the world. And then, the real test, you went back. Because seeing is not the point. Coming back is. The desert teaches you this. Alone under the naked sky, the voice of your ego becomes loud, then hoarse, then honest. The forest teaches you next, the place where paths cross, and you are not the hunter you thought you were. You are prey to your own illusions until you learn the sounds of your body again. The ocean teaches you the paradox of surrender, that there are currents you cannot fight without drowning. And the city is where you test your sight, your ethics, your capacity for conversation. The city is where your insight meets the friction of other living wills. Here's a scene to hold. In a lighthouse on a coast that eats ships, a keeper tends the lamp. He climbs the spiral steps with oil and cloth. He cleans the glass. He trims the wick. Storms slam the world, and still the lamp must stay soft, not too bright to blind or too dim to vanish. The keeper does not shout from the balcony, "Beware, you fools." He understands. The beam does the speaking. The beam does not perform. It rotates. It returns. It returns again. That is you. That can be you. Not the siren of doom. Not the trumpet of "I told you so." The keeper of a steady seeing. But a lighthouse needs maintenance, and a keeper needs sleep. Here is a risk few discuss: chronic perception. When you are always scanning for the unsaid, you forget to receive the said. When you are always finding the crack, you forget the strength of the stone. The psyche exhausts itself on threat detection. Your nervous system becomes a newsroom that never turns the lights off. This is when paranoia puts on the costume of wisdom. You start to equate tenderness with naivety. You start to punish joy by calling it simplification. You begin to be suspicious of laughter. That is not sight. That is fatigue wearing a crown. Rest, then, not as a reward for good behavior, but as an ethical duty. Sleep is not escape. Silence is not surrender. Sabbaths are not luxuries for the weak. If you carry a lamp for others, you owe your hands the right to stop shaking. You owe your mind the right to dream without jobs to do. You owe your heart the right to hold something simple and call it beautiful without footnotes. You may ask, but what about evil? What about people who do not deserve my patience? The answer is not sentimental. There are boundaries even love will not cross. Jung did not suggest making friends with what destroys you. He suggested recognizing that what destroys you often began as something you could not love in yourself. Hold the line. Protect the child. Quit the job that is trying to steal your conscience. But even then, refuse to turn the person into a cartoon. Refuse the lie that all of them is the worst thing they did. Why? Because if you accept that lie about them, you will eventually accept it about you. Here is another uncomfortable twist. Sometimes you are wrong. Not morally, perceptually. You think you're seeing under the surface, but you are seeing a reflection of your own fear. You think someone is lying, but you are reading your father's voice into their pauses. You think a culture is collapsing, but it is only changing, and change always feels like collapse when your identity is tied to what's dying. You will misread. You will misfire. You will apologize. Let your apologies be real. Not the PR kind with conditional verbs. Real ones, where you name the harm without asking for forgiveness as a reward. This is how the craft gets honed. Not by being right, by becoming trustworthy. The craft has simple tools. Questions that don't corner. Statements that take ownership. Timelines that acknowledge uncertainty. Predictions that include conditions. Stories that include your own failures. These are not hacks. They are expressions of a principle. Sight without humility is violence. Humility does not dim your light. It prevents your light from scorching. Philosophy, at its best, is not a tower, it's a lantern. Plato offers a vocabulary, cave, forms, justice, but you must walk the road. Nietzsche shouts warnings about the narcotic of resentment, and he's right. But you must resist turning his hammer into a judge's gavel. Jung offers a map of the inner continents, persona, shadow, animus/animus, self. But you are the traveler, and the map will not bleed for you. You will bleed. And that's not a failure. It's proof you left your house. Do not confuse clarity with cruelty. This is the cheap new religion, the cult of, I'm just telling it like it is. No, you are telling it how you see it from where you stand with what you have felt and feared. Honor that location. Name it. From where I stand, this is what I'm seeing. Watch how the room softens. Watch how the conversation opens. Watch how your authority grows by the exact amount your arrogance shrinks. And now, the deeper bedrock. Jung believed the psyche is not just personal, it is also collective. We share a deep reservoir of images, stories, and energies, the collective unconscious, and it moves through us whether we believe in it or not. When you see what others don't, you may be brushing against material that is older than your biography. The trickster who keeps showing up in your office politics. The hero who keeps getting worshipped by your friend group. The devouring mother in some institutions, the tyrant father in others. You are not crazy for noticing archetypes, but you are in danger if you turn them into cages. Archetypes are seasons, not sentences. They help us name the weather, they don't get to decide our forecast. If you want a simple sentence to carry in your pocket, take this. The goal is not to be the one who sees. The goal is to be the one who helps. The moment your identity depends on being the special seer, you will begin to unconsciously maintain the conditions that keep you special. You will want people to stay confused so you can stay needed. That is the rot. That is the secret addiction. Catch it early. Redirect the hunger. Let your joy be how often other people don't need you anymore. And what about you? The one watching this, feeling the ache, tasting the danger, wondering if this path will leave you alone forever. Let me tell you a different ending. The most luminous people I know did not become soft because the world was kind to them. They became soft because the world wasn't, and they refused to let their sight become a weapon against the very tenderness that makes life livable. They learned to walk into rooms with their eyes open and their shoulders down. They learned to disagree without contempt. They learned to be precise without being punitive. They learned to hold a boundary without holding a grudge. And yes, they cried in showers. And yes, they laughed at dumb movies. And yes, they let themselves be held by friends they didn't need to fix. This is how civilizations are repaired, not only through laws and votes and treaties, but through the thousand small choices made by people like you who will not abandon their sight and will not weaponize it either. The nervous system of the world is calmed by the calm nervous systems of people who refuse to perform their wisdom like a circus act. That can be you. So what now? Tonight, before you sleep, take 5 minutes with a blank page. Title it, What I Keep Seeing. Write the 3 things your eyes won't stop returning to, in your family, your work, your city, your own heart. Then, below each, write, what kindness can do next. Not what triumph can do. Not what fear can do. What kindness can do. It might look like a conversation. It might look like a limit. It might look like a plan. It might look like rest. Choose one small act and do it without theatrics. This is how sight turns into service. And when you wake, expect no applause. Expect resistance. Expect the old you to ask for the old drugs, superiority, despair, sarcasm, exile. Smile at that voice like you would at a child who is trying to protect you with strategies that no longer fit. Tell it, thank you. We're trying something different. Then walk into your day, not as the hero of a movie, but as the keeper of a lighthouse, tending the lamp that will matter most when the storm comes. Keep your glass clean. Keep your wick trimmed. Keep your beam revolving so the ships who've almost given up can find their line home. The danger of seeing what others don't is real. It can make you hard. It can make you cruel. It can make you lonely. But there is a deeper danger, the danger of closing your eyes because you are tired of being different. Do not choose that sleep. Choose the strange peace of being awake without being armed. Choose the small authority of the person who is trustworthy, not just correct. Choose the ancient craft of those who make the darkness conscious, starting, always, with their own. At the end of Jung's long journey, after the dreams and the drawings and the arguments with history, he wrote something that sounds like a quiet bow. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. He did not say the privilege is to become the one who sees. He said to become who you are. The sight is a tool. The self is the home. Carry the tool back to that home. Use it there first, then take it into the city. And when you pass by rooms where everyone is dancing on floors you know are cracked, don't sneer. Don't interrupt the song. Check the exits. Strengthen the beams. Guide the ones who want to leave, and bless the ones who aren't ready. Your work is not to make the world see. Your work is to keep your sight from becoming a knife. Because if you can do that, if you can stay open without turning to stone, you will be the kind of person people trust when the lights go out. This is the warning and the invitation. The danger of seeing what others don't, and the quiet glory of refusing to let that sight make you less human. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart softer than your vision. And keep walking.